when an IEP works, it can be a beautiful thing. IEP, Individualized Education Program. It's all written there in black and white. So let's jump right in. What is an IEP? Who's on the team? How do you create it? And what's on it? IEPs are a legally binding document, and they're really important in the public school system if you have a child who needs a little extra help. First, to even get an IEP, your child needs to be assessed for eligibility. And your public school is required to create a team and do an assessment to see if your child's eligible. If it turns out that your child's not eligible for an IEP, they could be eligible for a 504. And what that is, for example, let's say your child is in a wheelchair, but they can thrive in a general education program. So they don't need any special training or specialists or therapists, but they just need a ramp. Something like that, right? Or maybe they need a special desk. And those are the types of things that can be put in a 504 and don't really require an IEP if your child can still thrive and learn with a general education teacher. And they don't need a specialist teaching them. I know that was way too simple on 504. I might do another video on that if people want it. Your IEP is written by a team of professionals, and one of those professionals is you. Because you're the expert on your child, of course. Your IEP team for your child is gonna look different than mine. I'm actually amazed at how many people come every year to the IEP meeting. There's a lot. It's a big table, and we all just circle around it. I need to bring donuts next time. But there's always a teacher, and sometimes there's more than one. My child actually doesn't have a general education teacher. He only has specialized teachers, and he has 3 different therapists that come, the school psychologist, and also the principal. Sometimes if behavior is a really big issue in class, then the school will do a separate behavior plan. But Ezra's behavior plan is actually right in the IEP, and I know the teachers and therapists, and they do this really well. It wasn't that long ago when I was just doing a video call with the teacher and a few therapists, and we were going over an addendum that a couple of them felt was needed. Now, when Ezra does a certain behavior, they respond in a very specific way that I wanted them to. I'm like, this is what I do at home, and it really works, so let's generalize it and do it at school as well. And so those teachers and therapists are actually required by law, now that it's in the IEP, to respond a very specific way to a specific behavior. This is Ezra's IEP. And yeah, this is a big IEP. It's kind of long. It's got lots of pages. And we'll go over the basics of an IEP, pretty much the skeletal structure of what every IEP should have in it and what it kind of looks like. It's always really nice to know that before entering your first IEP meeting. So here we go. The first part of my son's IEP is the student information, which is just kind of the boring stuff that they have to have on hand, like contact information and stuff. And then the next one is the transition plan. And right now my son is in elementary school, and so he doesn't have a transition plan. And a lot of times if you have a good school, they'll bring in people to help train your child in like some kind of skill that will be really useful so that he or she can enter the workforce and become more independent, doing something that they enjoy doing and not be overwhelmed by all of a sudden just like losing all support when they graduate. And so that's one reason why a transition plan is really important. And it involves many more things. I won't kind of get into that. My child doesn't have one yet. The third one is present levels. So every IEP will have what your child is presently doing right now. What can she do? The level of her academics, how good is she at math? Like what can she accomplish? What is she able to do functionally as well? My child Ezra will pick up a pencil and kind of scribble for about 2 seconds. So that's the level that he's at. And then also he can use scissors and he'll do 1 snip and then throw the scissors. So that's the level he's at when it comes to using scissors. Right now, the level that Ezra is at is that he'll sit down with the book and turn a couple pages and then throw it. So that's his level of reading right now. But he's learning. And what's great about these levels is that when you have accurate levels written on your IEP, then you can really see the progress and what's helped him and what hasn't. The next part of the IEP is goals. The goals are really specific and they need to be measurable. Right now, he doesn't trace anything, and so his goal for the entire year when it comes to handwriting, just this one little section, is to be able to trace his first name. Another goal is to try and get Ezra to communicate that he needs help, communicate that he needs a break, communicate that he needs to go to the bathroom. So we're really open with these goals because really any communication, any way that he can communicate would be great. And he has adapted PE, which he loves. So one of his goals for PE would be to try and kick a ball. And for me, I love that he has goals in those things. Instead of just putting him in a gym with a bunch of kids running around and handing him a ball, which I'm sure he would have a lot of fun in that situation. But he can do that anytime, right? At home with the kids, and we travel a lot in our RV, and we play lots of games, and we always include him, especially in our hikes. And so he does that, like physical education. But at school, he can have a goal that he works towards and he achieves, and we can celebrate with him when he achieves it. And what I like about IEPs is it takes off these expectations on these kids that they don't need, and it's okay. After goals, you have the adaptations or accommodations that the school is required to provide. And with my son, math, reading, written language, self-help skills, communication, and PE are all actually special education classes. My son also, on his IEP, will have adapted PE, physical education, for like 30 minutes weekly. And so every Friday he gets 30 minutes of PE where a physical therapist will actually work with him. And within the accommodations that the school provides, I'm just gonna read you like my favorite part. He's allowed to have access to a fidget toy at any time, and response adaptation is communication device. So he's allowed to have that communication device. And minimize distractions, that's a setting adaptation. And so your child might need a setting adaptation. Maybe the lights are too bright, that would be a setting adaptation. And I feel like a lot of times we just don't think that a setting adaptation will make a big deal for someone, but for my son, it really does. For him to not sit in a regular chair, but have this square chair, and he like plops right in, he's so much more comfortable. He's so much more able to focus and learn because his anxiety is down. If he has a lot of things at the table, then that's distracting for him visually. And what he does, and it's so cute, he'll be sitting in the living room on a couch with all of us, and we'll all be talking or playing or something. He'll spot something that's in the wrong spot. He'll see like a sippy cup, and it's in the wrong spot, so he'll run and go get it. He'll get the sippy cup, and then he'll let go and throw it towards the sink. But that sippy cup, that was really bugging him, and that was a distraction for him. And so at school, if they can create the setting and adapt it more, create a setting adaptation so that he can focus, then he can learn better. Adapting the setting is a really important thing and big thing for autistic kids. At school, my son has a penny board, a token board where he can earn things. And so as he's going to different parts of the room, doing different activities, he has his little board with pictures of all the activities, and he'll go to it and he'll see the next activity. He'll see the next little picture of the next activity. If I say to my son Ezra, if you do this and then this and then this and then you'll get lunch, he won't understand exactly. He won't be able to visualize that and understand when exactly he's gonna have lunch. Maybe he just wants lunch now, right? But if he sees it visually on the board, and he can take off the reading time, take off the play time, take off the PE, whatever next activity he has at school, then he can see and anticipate when we're gonna have lunch. And that will help his anxiety go down because he knows when the next thing's gonna happen. Being able for him to understand and visualize his schedule so that he can anticipate when certain activities are gonna happen really helps bring his anxiety down. And I know that when his anxiety is down, when he's calm, he's able to focus and he's able to learn better. In Ezra's IEP, it says specifically that he has to have a certain type of seatbelt when he's on the bus. And also that the bus driver aide, there's actually an aide on the bus that will come bring my child down off the bus, hold his hand so he doesn't run out the street, and then let the teacher or the teacher's aide hold onto his other hand and is not allowed to let go until she knows that he's safe and that the teacher or the aide has his hand as well. Because if you don't do that with my son, he is like a bullet. He's not one to pull away from your hand. He's not. I mean, he used to be when he was littler, but now he has accepted that we're going to class now. But if you let go of his hand, then it's almost as if it's like, oh, we don't have to go to class? I can go over here as fast as humanly possible, and I'm never gonna look back. And he just has no awareness of danger, like none whatsoever. And so it's very important to me to know that he's safe. And it's reassuring that it's in the IEP. So you can amend or change or add to the IEP at any time. And you just need all the signatures from people. But you don't all have to meet again. Every year though, the IEP team will meet and they'll do usually a re-evaluation to make sure that your child is still eligible. With my child, Ezra, the most important thing for me is that he is safe, he is having fun, and the environment and the people around him are really trying their best to help him learn. I don't want to put these like super pressure-filled expectations on him. I want him to enjoy his time. I want him to have friends. And I want him to recognize his accomplishments as well and his growth, because he is learning. The last thing that you want to make sure is on your IEP, or at least communicated to you before you leave the room, is progress reports. You want to know when, how, and who. So when are you going to get the progress reports? Are they going to come monthly? Are they going to come bi-monthly? Are they going to come quarterly? And then also, how are they going to come? Are they going to come by email? This was in Ezra's backpack, and I get them in the backpack at a certain time. I know when they're going to come, and they're just always there. And I can see the progress he's making because they're always updated with the progress of each individual goal. And who is going to give you that progress report? That's important because if you don't get it, you need to know who to follow up with. That's happened to me before too with a different child of mine. I was like waiting for a progress report and didn't get it. And I'm like, wait a minute, I don't even know who this progress report is supposed to be coming from. So I sent a bunch of emails, and finally someone emailed me back and said, oh, that's right, I'm supposed to be giving you progress reports. I'm like, yeah, you are. She was really nice about it, and she's like, okay, I will be doing that. What email should I send it to? I'm like, this email. I was able to follow up, and it turned out fine, and I was able to get those progress reports. I think she saw it, and she just thought I didn't care. But then when I contacted her, she realized I cared, and so she did it. And sometimes that has happened too. I have a good friend who lives in a different state, and her child is actually not autistic, but he has sensory processing disorder. And she had to fight tooth and nail to get any special education for him. The school district ended up saying, well, we don't have the facility and the accommodations to accommodate your child. And so the school district that her child should be going to is actually paying for the transportation to take her child to a different school district that actually has those accommodations and that can truly help her child. And so things happen like that, and she had to fight tooth and nail to get that done. As an autism mom, you just have to do that, because if you don't, then who's going to? When an IEP is done right and the team members work together and they listen to each other, then creating an IEP can be a really inspiring thing, especially when everyone's focused on the needs of your child. And that is an IEP 101. Because it might just be, oh, I kicked a ball in the goalie. But I'm like, in the goalie? Hopefully not inside the person. In the goal, 101, individualized education program or plan, depending on what state you live in, actually. If you'd like to meet Ezra and the rest of the family, click on the left for an autism playlist of our family travel vlog. And the video on the right is a video where I share my own personal experience of my first IEP meeting. I share the mistakes I made and what I wish I would have done differently. So be sure to check that out. And remember, if you have a child who's autistic, you're in good company.